Hello, Booktube. Slightly different bit of landscape therapy. I am in Manchester today. I have just had my Open University commencement ceremony, so I'm now officially a BA. And we just took the tram from Piccadilly to Media City to catch this incredible cityscape, which has some water, so that counts as landscape therapy, but this is definitely, as you can see, a very urban environment, but definitely worth a visit.
Hi Booktube. I'm making this video right now because I'm in the middle of 3 different books, and that doesn't include Middlemarch, and I'm not ready to review any of them, but I thought I should reveal that one of them happens to be Richard Adams' Watership Down. If you followed my earliest Coffee Break series, the one where I talked about books that we do not finish, you'll remember that I challenged myself that during 2023 I was going to read 3 books that are often considered classics, but which I'd given up on for one reason or another. 2 of these 3 books, The Wind in the Willows and Watership Down, feature talking animals. And if I'm 100% honest, one of the features of these books that made me feel less than enthusiastic about reading them was the fact that they had talking animal characters. Now, this just does not make sense. If you knew me, when I was younger, I used to pester my parents so that I could collect and read all of Thornton Burgess's Old Mother West Wind series, which not only has talking animals, it has talking weather. And I loved reading Charlotte's Web. I loved the ancient Greek myths that had fabulous characters like Pegasus and the Minotaur and the Chimera. I don't mean that those characters necessarily spoke, but that they were clearly human inventions. And I did not have any problem reading George Orwell's Animal Farm. In fact, I remember thinking that a talking animal fable was a really effective way about talking about the eventual results of the Russian Revolution. But I can't deny it. When I was reading The Wind in the Willows, and right now, when I'm reading Watership Down, I've got this sensation. I can only call it slightly uncomfortable, like teeth set on edge. And it's knowing that I get this sensation which leaves me, I'm less than excited about starting longer series like, say, William Horwood's Duncton Wood or Brian Jacques' Redwall. My father loved all of those books, and so we had all of them at home, right? I didn't have to spend my own money and risk disappointment. I remember I opened up maybe the first volume, sampled a page here and there, but then that uncomfortable sensation would come up and it would drive me away. Out of curiosity, I went online to see if there were other readers put off by talking animals, and I ended up on a chat forum called Mythic Scribes, where it was obvious that the contributors were readers and writers of fantasy, and that was important because I didn't want the opinion of people that only like to read realism in fiction, so because obviously they would look down on anything that was imaginary. But even on this forum, full of fantasy lovers, they had differences of opinion about talking animals, and I found myself, as I was reading their reasoning, nodding and going, yeah, that's me too. This is the situation where they said talking animals was most difficult to take seriously, and that's where the animals appear to live in a realistic fictional setting, but nothing is communicated to the reader to explain why they talk. Now, The Wind in the Willows falls into that category, but also so do Thornton Burgess's Old Mother West Wind books. The one forum member referred to, but they didn't name a book where there were wolves who could speak, but that was because, what the author invented to explain that was that these wolves belonged to a particular pack that had preserved an ancient ability to speak, whereas other wolves had allowed that ability to be lost. And this commenter said that for her was just plausible. I was less certain. I think when I was a child, I was so blissfully unaware of so many things about reality. I could accept talking animals across the board because I had no idea that my ability to speak was due to specific characteristics of my physiology or my brain. As soon as I learned about that, though, animals in a realistic fictional setting talking just did not work. In the same forum, the commenters did specify situations in fantasy where they were capable of accepting talking animals, and I agreed with these. So I'm going to mention 4 of them that really resonated with me. The first one, the story's clearly allegorical, right? So George Orwell's Animal Farm slots in perfectly. You are in on what the author is really trying to do. You know he's really trying to comment on a real world situation, but there are times when it's safer and sometimes less threatening to use an allegory to show exactly how a real life situation is going wrong. Secondly, the story is comical. That's when talking animals is fine. So anything by Terry Pratchett is what the forum members said. And I agree because I have laughed out loud more times in public places reading Terry Pratchett than any other author. Reason 3, the whole world in which the talking animals live is an imaginary construct. It doesn't operate according to the real world rules. And that made sense to me because I had no issue with the animal familiars or the talking polar bears in Philip Pullman's Dark Materials trilogy. I couldn't bring that come to mind. And reason 4, the animals are in themselves are fantastic. They're unicorns or dragons. So in conclusion, Watership Down, unfortunately, it has rabbits living in a realistic world with no reason that I've perceived yet for why the rabbits talk. It was written for children, however, so I have to allow that they, like me when I was a child, probably have no problem with that. I will carry on reading. If I find that Richard Adams' book, like Frank Herbert's Dune, is causing me any additional frustration, then I'll do what I did when I was reading Dune, right? I'll record a sideline video so I can just rant a little bit. That rant did help me keep reading, by the way. I'd be interested to hear other booktubers' thoughts on this subject. Please feel free, express yourself in the comments, or even better, link me to a video if you've already talked about this subject. I'd love to watch it. I'm committed to having a book review of one kind or another ready for you next time, Booktube. So hang in there. Look forward to seeing you again in a few days. Take care. Bye-bye.